Hello, welcome to episode 75 of Your Ultimate Comeback. I'm really excited today. Today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, a colleague, a client who has an epic comeback story. And I'm really excited to dive in, explore it, share all her knowledge she's learned through it. So with no further ado, Stephanie Gambetta, welcome to Your Ultimate Comeback.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have you on.
Yeah.
I've been a part of your story for, not the whole thing, but part of it. So I've got to firsthand witness and watch what you've been through, how you overcome it. And I'm just super excited to explore it.
Thank you. It's been a journey.
Yeah.
You're talking, I'm kind of sweating, thinking like, which part of the comeback are we going to talk about? There's a lot of it.
Well, so first off, let's start off with when I met you, like how we met. Because at that point, you were in your journey.
Yeah.
But it had a big twist that made the journey a little extra long.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and explore like what was going on in your life before we met, and then the event that happened that caused us to meet and then start to work together.
Okay. So I met you at Moxie when we were working out. I just moved. It was during COVID, so the workout scene was so kind of indoor, outdoor, and dicey. And I'd moved to California. Hawaii was crazy during COVID. And I thought, okay, I'd spent a little time in California during COVID, and I was like, it's open there. Like, why am I stuck on this island? I've been kind of wanting to get off and try something new. So I convinced my husband at the time to let's do 10 months and move to California. And so a friend brought me to Moxie, and that was kind of just my escape from COVID. My marriage was falling apart. And so I felt like at the time I kind of like lived and breathed either like in the recovery center of Moxie or like in the studio Moxie. But at the time I was just running a ton, and that was what I was like used to doing. I was a runner in college. And so cardio was kind of like the way that I numb myself, and it was quick and easy. And then I thought, well, I'm supposed to lift because I'm getting older. And so I would go to these classes they had, and I thought I was lifting weights, and I would just go from station to station. And you were a trainer there, and I saw you kind of in the mix. I think you helped me one day with an injury, but like we didn't really know each other. But that was kind of the first time our orbits, I think, crossed.
Yeah. Yeah, we ran into each other a couple times, answered questions here and there. Yeah. That place was life-saving during COVID. Yeah.
And I have nothing but the most fond memories of it. And like it actually really saved me in a really hard chapter when I was trying to unravel and start a new life. And it was great.
Yeah. So that kind of was the start of the comeback, right? The marriage, the dissolve of the marriage, like just trying to figure all that out. That's tough. That's a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, it really was. I was born and raised in Hawaii, and I spent time on the East Coast in college and graduate school. Then I moved to Newport Beach in 2000 and worked for Lee Steinberg, the sports agent.
Oh my gosh.
Which is a whole nother story that we're not going to talk about today. But that was when I first got introduced to Newport Beach.
When did you work with Lee? Because I used to help train his athletes for the NFL Combine. Oh, sorry, no. It was when David Dunn and someone else broke off from Lee Steinberg. That was my first experience of
helping. Brian Murphy and David left.
Yeah. I helped those guys prepare their athletes for the NFL Combine.
Okay, so Brian hired me out of graduate school.
Okay.
And moved me to Newport Beach from the East Coast.
So that would have been
2000.
Oh my gosh, I was working with the athletes in 2000.
See, our worlds were starting to collide.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So that's kind of what got me to Newport Beach. And I was like, this is the most magical place. And I came from Hawaii, which is really beautiful. But I remember driving down Marguerite with my mom and being like, where am I? How do people get to live here? So I think my soul was always just really attached to California, Newport Beach. And so in and out, I was here. I worked for the Angels baseball team. And then I brought Wahoo's Fish Taco to Hawaii. And that's what kind of got me back to Hawaii. And I got married. I had my children. And I never really thought I would live there again. I was there I was born until through high school. And about 10 years into it, I kind of looked around and I was like, how is this my life? And it became a situation of I was an entrepreneur. I had restaurants. I was on the charity circuit. I was a fitness instructor. I mean, you name it, I was kind of doing it, and I was half doing it. And I was being at these lunches with 20 girls and looking around being like, this is not me. And my world felt really, really small, and I couldn't breathe. And I was on this island that you can drive around in 1 hour. My family, generationally, go back to full Hawaiians. And so we know the community really well. And it just wasn't where my soul belonged. And so having the courage to get out of a marriage that wasn't serving me or my children, I just was like, okay, I'm going to have to be brave and jump. And it was so scary. I mean, leaving the island in general, I think people were like, how could you do that? And you're selfish. My life was really easy there. I mean, when you're from there, I mean, everything's a phone call. And I moved to a place during COVID where I knew a small handful of people, but I didn't have a support system. I didn't have the schools. I didn't have anything. And I had to start over. And I loved it. I remember my mom visiting me finally. No one wanted her to visit me. And she finally visited me and she, I'm homeschooling my kids and I'm running around. It's COVID. And she looked at me and she goes, this is really hard. You must really want this. And I'm like, I do. So that was kind of the start, I would say, of my initial comeback of just really kind of coming back to myself and claiming who I am and saying like, okay, as scary as this is, like, I need to follow my heart and my soul and like do what's best for me. And in doing what's best for me, it'll be best for my girls. And I've got 2 kids, 2 girls, they're 16 and 14, and they're thriving and they love California. And it all worked out great, but it was definitely a scary chapter.
So that's a tough decision to make. Yeah. I know a lot of people that are stuck. They're not happy. Their life's kind of over. They want to change, but people are afraid to make that jump.
Oh, it's terrifying.
What advice do you have someone who's stuck, miserable, has a dream of something they want to be doing, but they're afraid to go do it? Do you have any advice for that person?
This is going to sound so weird, but you really get to the point where it's harder to stay than it is to leave. And I hate to say sometimes you have to get to that point. Yeah. And I'm not saying like, I have a coach and she always said like, Stephanie, and just in life, don't get to the point where you're so miserable. But for me, that was kind of my pivoting place where it's just like, it was so uncomfortable to be in my space. I went to a program called the Hoffman Process.
Oh, maybe tell me about that.
Yeah. And my sister had gone before me and I had some friends that had gone and I signed up and then I kept canceling it because I knew when I spent a week with myself, they take your phone away, they take every vice you could have away for a week, that I knew what my answer was if I really sat down with myself and slowed down. And I just wasn't ready to face that until I was ready to face it. So I think my advice is you know when you're ready, but just keep pushing yourself to grow and just explore more and more. And I think as you get to know yourself better and explore, it becomes a little bit less scary, or you grow and you have your partner grow with you and you stay married. So I'm like a huge proponent of marriage. My parents have been together for 55 years. And I definitely think the grass isn't greener on the other side. But I think if you do the work on yourself to figure out like, how did I get here? And really like, where do I want to go? And it might be even just staying, but you're a different version of yourself within the relationship where you bring your partner along with you. So you'll know, but also like I said, doing the work and getting out of your comfort zone to figure out like, how did you end up where you are? It's
a fear of the unknown is what I say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you got to make the choice. Sometimes the choice is thrown on you.
Yeah.
But the answer is always to do the work on yourself, I think.
100%.
Yeah. Because if you don't do the work, you're just going to end up in the exact same situation, just another way.
Exactly. And you're part of the reason you're there.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't blame anybody, but look at yourself in the mirror and say, how did I get here? And like, at least take the responsibility for your piece of whatever's going on in your life.
Yeah.
You're not a victim.
No. It's hard for some people to grasp.
I know, and I'm not really sensitive with the victim.
Okay, let's fast forward to when we met.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that situation that happened in your life that basically triggered our working together.
So I know I was thinking that driving here, I remember seeing you online, I think on Instagram, and like how you were training. And I thought to myself, I know I need this. I don't really want to lift weights. I don't like lifting weights, but I'm in my mid 40s. Like I think I should start doing that. And so even before my quote accident, I was dabbling with training with you.
Yeah, we just started a little bit. It was
kind of some group work. And I think, I don't even know if we were one-on-one yet. It's all kind of a blur. But somewhere I knew was good for me. Yeah. So I was dabbling in the weights, but I wasn't strong yet. I wasn't balanced. I was still doing a ton of cardio. And my body was really inflamed and really tired. I think at that point I'd say I was like abusing my body in terms of using exercise as a way to numb myself getting through my divorce. And it's like some people drink, some people eat, some people have many partners. Like mine was like, just go numb yourself by like running as much as you can until you're so tired you can't think. So I was definitely at that place. And I was skiing and it was like my 10th day skiing. I was during ski week and I was skiing really hard that trip. And I was like really proud of myself. Like I was skiing like things I would never done and keeping up with some really good skiers. And this day, my parents were in town and it was like a big fresh powder day. And my boyfriend's like, let's go and ski a couple runs before you meet your parents. So we go up Ajax Mountain, which is a pretty steep, tough mountain, but I'd skied it a ton. And I ski the first run and I get to the bottom and I looked at my boyfriend and I was like, I need to be cautious today. Like I've never said that in my life. I'm not a cautious, I wouldn't say I'm a cautious person, but I said it out loud. My body was really tired.
Yeah.
And I went up the lift. I'm not joking. I pictured myself in a knee brace. I pictured myself, I didn't know what I did, but I pictured myself hurting my knee. I get off the lift and he says to me, like, do you want to go down this like double black knee powder? And I didn't remember that I just said I should be cautious.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, stay close to me. I've never said that. And about halfway down, the powder was heavy and deep and I went to turn left and like my skis didn't turn and I just went, whoa. And I knew instantly and I yelled like, ah, you know, and he was about maybe 6 feet below me. He said, can you come to me? And I was like, no, like whatever I did, it's done. And so I got in the toboggan and poor guys. I think the hardest part was them getting me in this toboggan, like in all the powder. And I'm just kind of going down the mountain, seeing a lot of, and I've always seen people go on a toboggan. I've never been on a toboggan before.
Me neither.
And I just was like, it's about to change, Steph. Like I was really calm, but I was like, it's about to change. And then I was like, how the hell did I will that? Like, how did I think that? And then this happened. So fast forward, quickly I went into town and they did a couple exercises and they're like, you tore your ACL. And I almost had like a blackout moment where I kind of got dizzy and I was like, okay, like I know that it's a long recovery. I don't know a lot about it. And the oddest thing, Brad, is that I just surrendered. Like there was nothing in me really that it's like I knew. My body, whatever happened to me was God, the universe, whatever you want to say. Like I knew that happened for me. And it was really quick and I didn't know what the future was going to look like. I was very scared because I was like, oh my gosh, I can't exercise. Like, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to get through this still pretty challenging chapter of my life? But I surrendered and then I got back to Newport and then I had even worse news that I also tore my meniscus. And I just remember crying and crying and crying because I don't know if the listeners know, but when you tear your meniscus, you're on crutches for a month. And you kind of hear when you tear your ACL, you're going, it's a long recovery, but you throw on a torn meniscus and like ACL, like you're on crutches for 2 days and then you're walking around. Meniscus, like you are non-weight bearing for a month. And I think that was just like, oh my gosh. And I'm a single mom. And so just from like how do I feed myself? How do I feed my kids? Thank goodness it wasn't my driving leg. But, got in for surgery as soon as I could and got on crutches. And I asked you what I should do, who I should see. And you're I've got this guy, Jason, Dr. Jason, and he's crazy, but he's good. Are you willing to recover like an athlete? And I said, I think you know the answer, Brad. Like, I want to get through this as fast as I can. And also, like, I don't want this ever to happen to me again. Yeah.
And it was funny when I called Dr. Jason to tell him about you and ask him if he'd help you. His first response was, is she willing to work? I'm like, of all the things I know about her, yes, she is. That will not be the problem. He's like, okay, I'll do it. And it worked out really well.
I mean, he got me in the pool like 3 days after my injury. And it was so humbling. Like the littlest movement was so difficult and so scary. And it was, it's interesting to think back on it. It's been, a year and a handful of months. And it was like, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I learned so much from it. And it was so humbling and beautiful at the same time. And it's really hard to even I get emotional sometimes thinking about it because it was a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
What would you say were some of your top 2 takeaways being stuck in that situation? What are the 2 top takeaways you had learning about yourself? Because that's hard when someone gets put in a position like that where all of a sudden their life's taken away from them. They're hurt. They can't do anything. That's the most dangerous season with my professional athletes is when they're hurt in those early stages when they can't do anything. That's when you either make the choice of, I'm going to start doing some really good things for myself, or I'm going to let it all go and just say, F it. And my life's done. Yeah.
I knew I was really fragile. So I did know that. I knew I was mentally fragile. I was physically fragile. And so I had to do everything to keep my mental state in somewhat check. Yeah. I think so. Getting a routine really quickly, if it was going to PT and then getting into the water or whatever it was. But, I had to crawl up and down my stairs. I mean, my children were like, what is going on? Literally, that's all I could, to get up the stairs. And they're like, why don't you move your bedroom downstairs? And I was like, no, my mental state needs to be in my bed, in my bedroom. But I found the pool to be really meditative. And I put on podcasts and do my exercises. And I think I've told you this, like I cried more in that month than I've cried in my entire life. And it wasn't tears of sadness. And I think that's what was the most surprising. It was like I was finally feeling life again. Like I wasn't numbing myself. And so like I'd see a rainbow and I'd cry. Like I remember it was like Easter and I'm like driving to the pool to do my physical therapy. And I was like, that is the most beautiful rainbow. Or someone would call me and they're like, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm awesome. And I'm crying. So I think that was surprising, like really being like, wow, I don't cry, but there was a reason I wasn't crying. So I feel like I did a lot of healing and just repairing and slowing down. And then realizing that like, I wouldn't have stopped. Like any addict, like I would not have stopped until, like, I guess it's rock bottom. Like God had to take a baseball bat to my knee and was like, this is the only way you're going to stop. Yeah. And I did know is I'm never going back there. Yeah. Like if I don't learn from this, then it was all for nothing. Yeah.
Well, you made some radical changes in your life because of this knee injury.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Let's talk about like the way you train now versus prior. Because prior, you said a lot of cardio, a lot of HIIT classes, all those things that women are told they're supposed to do. And so now the knee's blown out. So now you're stuck. You can't go do the HIIT classes. You can't go out and run. Yeah. That's where we kind of start playing a little bit more. And now it's all about lifting weights, like all the things women think like, oh, this isn't very good. I'm scared of this. What should I do? Well,
I remember I kept saying like physical therapy was getting very daunting. And like, when can I see Brad? Yeah. Like, when can I get to Brad? And so finally Jason was like, okay, you're strong enough to see Brad now, at least like to start building back up. Your knee and Brad knows what to do with your knee. And I remember Jason kept saying to me, like, you're gonna have no problem putting on muscle. And I thought to myself, like, I've never been able to put on muscle. I mean, and we talked about this. You have a picture of me from 10 years ago when I was like working out so hard. Yeah. And you don't see muscle on that body compared to now.
Yeah, and we actually have those two pictures. I'm going to have Caesar put them up so you guys can see them right now.
I remember like showing Brad the picture. I'm like, I found this picture. You're going to die. And yeah. I mean, I was kind of dying because I didn't believe it was possible, especially somebody my age. Yeah. And
because the first picture, how old were you in the first picture?
40.
And then how old were you in the second one?
I'm almost 50. Okay. It's 10 years apart. Yeah.
It's not supposed to be this. Like this isn't supposed to be quote unquote possible.
It's a trip.
Before and after, it's incredible to see the difference.
Yeah. And I think it was trusting you, trusting Dr. Jason and listening. And both of you said, like, if you listen and do what I'm telling you to do, you will be in the best shape of your life.
I wish Raquel was here right now. I know she's in Texas right now with her daughter watching beach volleyball, but her and I had the exact same experience. She had to have a surgery, and she's like, I'm not going to be able to do the classes for a couple of weeks, the spinning, all that stuff. So I'm just going to train with you for a couple of weeks, and then I'll go back to what I do. And same thing. Now, she just turned 60 and looks freaking phenomenal.
Yeah, and you feel so good. I think, us getting in the gym and realizing, like, in the beginning, I still didn't like lifting the weights. Like, I'd come visit you, and I was actually just happy not to be in physical therapy. So it's kind of like I'm on to stage 2. Yeah.
Better of two evils.
Yeah. But once I started to see progress and like, oh my gosh, not only am I getting stronger, but I could physically see it. And then we really worked on my protein intake and saying, okay, like I felt like, I keep using this analogy, like I felt like I was like Bambi, like I was just like a little fawn that was like, and I've always felt like a strong woman, but I was like really weak, and I had to focus on my protein. And I went through stages of like being a vegetarian and then a pescatarian. And I started eating steak because my boyfriend's from Texas. And I was like, well, gosh, if I won't have a chance with this man, I better start eating steak.
100%.
But so I started with a digestive enzyme, and then like steak was really easy. And so I really started focusing on my protein and creatine and just all the supplements that you really were talking to me about. They're saying, hey, Steph, like if you want to build this muscle, you have to focus also on like what you're fueling your body with and what you're doing. And when then I started to feel the results and see the results, it was almost like, all right, game on. Like the competitive part of me was just like, I was shocked. Yeah. I mean, I really was shocked. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And then I really started liking it.
I want to point one thing out that you said that's super important for women to hear, because a lot of times women, they're starting to hear, I got to eat more protein. Yeah. They go to start eating the protein and it upsets their stomach. They don't like it. You said digestive enzymes. Yep. It's one of the best things to take for anyone who hasn't eaten a lot of meat, especially if they're moving into like animal meat, like red meat, steaks, things like that. Just take a digestive enzyme before the meal in the beginning so your body gets used to having to break down and assimilate that meal. So digestive enzymes, I'm glad you brought that up because that's really important for people that are not used to eating meat to start bringing meat in. It's their biggest complaint. Oh, it just feels like a rock in my stomach. It hurts my stomach. It's just a lack of digestive enzymes. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think what helped me too is like, find out what you like. Like at least at my age, I'm not gonna eat anything I don't like.
Yeah.
So just like figuring out what I liked and then really like staying away from the bars. Like I have one like yogurt bowl a day that has protein powder and stuff in it, but like everything else is real food.
Yeah.
And I
That's
figured
that
out
thing that JP made for me when I was
so
with you guys
good.
the other
Yeah,
day.
it's
Yeah, it
called
was
the
super
Global.
good.
Yeah, we can put the recipe out. It's really
we'll
good. I've
definitely
got a
add
lot of
that.
people turned on to
Yeah,
it.
it was so good.
The reason I like it is because it's so nutrient dense. I mean, it has spirulina in it. It has greens in it, flaxseed. What else does it have in it? It has a yogurt that has a digestive enzyme in it, like the yogurt cultures. It has frozen blueberries. It has collagen. It has everything you need for your day.
I was full for
And it was
like
under
3
500
hours.
calories, and it has like 40 plus grams of protein, plus all your nutrients. So it gives
Yeah.
you all this energy and you feel really good. And it's easy to eat. Like,
It was super good.
yeah, you can make it like outside of your teeth being blue.
Yeah, we'll definitely put a link in the notes to that.
It's a great tool.
Yeah.
It's a great tool. So I think it was adding the protein in and then just listening to you. And the first time, and I still tell my friends, because you can talk about the workout group I got together,
Yeah.
but it was such a departure from what I was doing. Like I left and I wasn't sweaty. I was kind of like, did I work out? Like,
That's the hardest.
it's so different. It's 45 minutes, you're in, you're out, but like just trusting you and trusting to change. And I have such empathy when I talk to my clients being like, okay, like we can do this. You just have to let go and trust, and you're going to be scared, but it takes time and just one foot in front of the other and do it. And like, it works. And I'm not like an anomaly. Like I'm a normal person.
Oh yeah. You were forced to trust the process. You had no
exactly.
other option. That's typically when it works the best, to be honest with you. And then like the scenario with us is you trust the process, and all of a sudden all your friends are like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden we have this great group of women that come in twice a week and all work out, and they're all lifting weights and they're all up because they bought in because you were forced to buy in.
Yes.
And they saw what it could do for you. And now this whatever you say they'll do because
And
they've seen it.
I kind of hooked them in by like, hey, let's get a ski group together. Let's all get ready for ski season, knowing that like that would get them in. And then because I'm still pretty new to Newport Beach, like I didn't have a ton of friends. And then they just got a really good, amazing group. And then now we're really protective. We're like,
Oh yeah.
you got to be at a certain level.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's my favorite couple hours of the week.
Yeah.
So we started this ski class because we were really training you to get back on the slopes.
Yeah. I really was adamant. Like I was skiing a year. Well, I was skiing actually, it was like 10 months later.
Yeah. I want to talk about that because I think that's one of the hardest things in the whole healing process is having to go face the exact scenario that you got hurt in.
Yeah.
And you got to do that.
Yeah.
Right? So you were back up. It was Aspen where you got hurt,
No,
right?
so luckily the first time I went was a different mountain. So I think that was actually a little helpful.
Oh, yeah.
I went through the scary twice because I had to revisit where I got injured. But when I did, it was around New Year's and we were skiing with our family, and we've got 6 kids between the two of us, my boyfriend and I. And because there's 6 other children, it's like I was the last person that anyone was worrying about. I mean, we get on the slopes and like, I think my 14-year-old at one point looked over, she goes, Mom, are you okay? But there was just kids everywhere and it was like a whiteout. And like, I almost had to just be like, whatever, like my knee's my knee and let's do this. But it was just trusting it. And like mentally, it just made me have so much admiration for these athletes who like, it's their career and they have to get out there and like, they have like cut and add, like just, I think of like the movements they had to do where I could just like ease into my skiing and like, it wasn't like, it was like, but it was mentally, it was crazy hard.
So I know with my athletes, the hardest thing is when they're back on the specific field where the injury happened.
Yeah.
Like they're fine. Like it's easier. Games prior to it, when they're on different fields doing it, not as bad. But for some reason, when you got to go face the beast that beat you in the exact same environment, it is a mental mind, you know what, right? So when you had to go back to Aspen and face the area where you got hurt, was that pretty tough?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I went up the lifts and I looked at it. Like my parents were with me actually. And that's where it happened. And I would not go down that run. Like that, I will probably never go down that run. I hate to say it.
Yeah.
And I don't ski in like very deep powder. I'm so cautious, but I'm getting faster and I'm getting back into it. And every time I'm out there, it feels less. I mean, I remember even my knee, I think talking to you about it, I'm like, is there ever going to be a day I don't think about my knee? Yeah. And I don't think about my knee. That's awesome. I mean, every once in a while I'll think about it because it might be stiff or something like that. But I'm excited for the day of skiing where I just don't think about it anymore. I still do think about it. But it's also because I ski, 15 days a year. It's not like I'm doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah, you need more
but
repetition.
I feel so strong and I feel so balanced.
Yeah.
Like I know I'm stronger than I was before my accident. Yeah. And I do understand the mechanics that like the odds of me doing this again to this knee is, unless something else might happen, but it's
definitely reduced.
Yes.
Yeah, your strength balance is so good. And so I learned this from Canadians called strength balance. This is one thing that I don't ever talk about with people in the training programming, but the foundation of it is built on what's called strength balance. It's creating a world of strength throughout the body. And the Canadians have all the ratios of the different lifts. And so like the upper body is based off the bench press. That's what we always do a bench press.
Yeah.
Lower body is always based off the squat. So that's what we always squat. So then I could see like in the app that I use with you guys, we can kind of see where the strength and balances are. And the closer you get those ratios. So for example, if you can squat 100 pounds, you should be able to deadlift 125 pounds.
Okay.
Things like that. Like, so they all have a specific ratio. The closer you get an athlete or anybody to those numbers, the less likely they are to get hurt. So in the world of football, if you get, which is a high trauma sport, you can reduce risk of injury by 40% once you have an athlete in strength balance. So that's one of the things we've built into you is that strength balance. And then, Dr. Jason and his group built all the deep, intricate, like stabilization processes, mobility processes, all that.
All those little
So
movements.
There's always still risk of getting hurt, but it's going to take high trauma to hurt you now.
Right.
Like my last football player that got hurt, same thing, great strength balance, hadn't been hurt for 8 years, 2 300-pound men fall on his leg that's pinned and it just breaks. Like you can't stop that. But your likelihood of getting hurt is drastically reduced because of the strength balance. It's the coolest thing I've learned from the Canadians.
Well, it's crazy how good you feel. Like how good you feel in your body and confident and strong and not, I go back to like everyone thinking they're gonna get big.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get big.
That's so hard to do.
You're not gonna get big. And I feel like I was afraid of that too. And what I do talk to some of my clients about too is like, especially like when you're taking creatine and some of these supplements that might have you hold on to water. And when you start anything new, like, you're taxing your muscles out. So they're going to be swollen and look a little bigger, but move through it. And you realize that like the scale might go up, but you're smaller, and your clothes fit better. And like, and you don't worry about it as much because the muscle is working for you. Yeah. And so like I work out less than I've ever worked out. Which is shocking too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot more time to go live life, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now I want to move into what I'm most excited to talk to you about is because of this journey, you ended up getting on peptides to help accelerate healing. Let's talk about that journey because that has now led into this really incredible scenario for you.
Yeah. So I've always been like super curious and I've always been into like, what are people doing to anti-age and to feel their best? And I had long-term COVID and I went and got stem cells in Mexico. Like I'm kind of a person who's like, I'll try whatever. I'll be a guinea pig. So I'd heard about peptides. And then while I was traveling this summer, I saw that a friend had opened up something in Newport Beach. And so I got him to come to my house and talk to me, my friends and I, and just like break down this world of peptides. Like really, what is it? How can they help you? And so I got on BPC 157 for my knee and TB 500 to really start speeding up my healing process. And I was blown away. Like the inflammation that it took away and how much it sped up my healing was ridiculous. And I just never felt that good in my body. Like everything changed from them. And then I just went down a rabbit hole of nerdiness and like trying. And I feel so bad, my friend, I'd blow him up. I'd be like every morning with like voice messages like, hey, explain this to me. Or I'm listening to this podcast and I don't understand this. And what does this one do? And can I try this one? And so not that I became a guinea pig for the peptides, but I definitely got curious. And as I would wean off one, then I would try NAD or GHK. And I just thought these are the future. And why is it so complicated and it shouldn't be? And why aren't people talking about them more or coaching about them more? And I've been a health coach for a really long time, but I'd stopped coaching when I moved to California. When I was getting divorced, my therapist was like, I think you should just focus on your kids. And so I was in the process of, hey, I want to relaunch my coaching business. I was rebranding it. I was working with my coach. And I was going to go back and just really focus on helping kind of men and women go through different chapters of their life. Like had I gone through like divorce or having a child or a child going to college and just really providing a support system to get from point A to point B. And something was holding me back. It like didn't feel like it was right. And I didn't know really what it was. And I went on this retreat in January with my sister in Mexico. It was a little woo-woo, but it was a lot of different CEO women from around the country. And from the second I got into the cab with a wonderful girl from New York, we started talking about peptides. And I realized the entire retreat was peptides. Like everyone asking me all these questions and I would light up. And the women are like, this is what you need to be coaching women on and talking about is these peptides. Like, you know a lot. And what if you just created a program of people who actually know more than me?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm in Loop is. It's my new company, and it's a coaching company on peptides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about like what Loop Way is, how it works. I'm super excited about it.
Yes.
Because from my experience, I've known about peptides. I learned about them 20 years ago from one of my mentors. So I've followed them, and they're really hard to find.
Yeah.
They're really hard to find someone who's educated on them.
Yeah.
They're really hard to get your hands on really good. You have no idea how quality the product is. All these things matter.
The Wild West.
It's the whole Wild West. You can go on the internet and buy something. It's super easy to do that, but you have no idea what you just bought.
Right.
And then once you get it, it's like, how do I put water in this? How do I take
and it's
it?
A needle, and oh my gosh, am I like a drug addict all of a sudden?
It's just bad. There's like shame around it. Tell them a little bit what like the Loop Way is and how the system works.
Well, so from a coaching perspective, I've always been about the foundations, which, as you know, and it's sleep, it's nutrition, it's movement, and it's mindset. That's like the 4 pillars. And so I feel like with my coaching, that's the foundation that I try to get all my clients in and at. And then peptides are just this amazing tool. And so with the Loop Way is we provide a place where you can get educated. And so we marry blood work with AI, with our nurse PAs that really kind of guide you, answer all your questions, really look at how these peptides might help you. I mean, everything might, but we go in there and we really provide them a space to ask all their questions and look at it and say, wow, this peptide can really help me with my cholesterol or my brain fog, or it might help me lose weight or lose the inflammation or grow my hair back or whatever it may be. But really find an educator that can answer all their questions and they feel really safe. And then also, where can I get peptides that I can trust? And it's not the Wild West where it comes and I don't know what I'm doing, which I've been there before.
Yeah.
And so I just really looked at it as an educational platform in a way that when it says the Loop Way, is like you kind of come in through us and then we support you the whole way through. So you never feel like you're alone and you're part of a community. And once you start taking peptides, and they work, you get really excited. Yeah. And then you love to nerd out and talk to people about them. And really what I like to say, they're a supplement. And they have this big stigma attached. And I think it's because they're injected. I think if they weren't injected, I don't think the stigma would be as big. You know, I think there's something about being injected versus like a pill, which I don't even understand. Like people will take all the pharmaceutical drugs in the world and not be scared of it. And then I suggest a peptide and they're like, oh, I won't do that. And I was like, do you even know what you're talking about? And that's why even right now with Loop, I just say, come in and be curious. Like, be open-minded because there's got to be another way.
Yeah.
You know, how do we really want to age? You want us to be strong. You want to feel good. You want your brain to work. I mean, Alzheimer's is terrifying. And so you want to get your insulin under control. And the end of the game is just really providing a safe place for someone to get curious. I want to take all the stigma out and these GLP-1s. The funniest thing is these women, probably maybe some men, are all secretly taking them. And at the end of the day, what's the shame around it?
Well, and they don't even understand it's a peptide.
No, it's a peptide.
Well,
Ozempic is a peptide.
Yeah, why are you afraid of this peptide?
Semaglutide is a peptide. Tirzepatide is a peptide. Insulin is a peptide. Like, saves many, many, many lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Explain what a peptide is. You do a really good job of explaining what a peptide is.
All it is amino acid chain. And so the way I like to describe it is that they're little mail carriers in your body. And so they mimic what's already in our body. When we were born, we have 300,000 peptides naturally occurring in our body. And each one are receptors telling our body to do different things. Yeah. And so all they are is when you choose, let's say we take BPC. It's derived from gastric stomach juice. So it really helps with your gut, but it helps increase blood flow. And so it's an amino acid chain that you put in and it knows where the inflammation is and it increases blood flow into the area that it needs to be. It's really, really simple. Yeah. It just talks to your body. And you hear a lot of people in peptides talk about optimizing, but it optimizes what your body needs. And so as we age, our body slowly depletes. Metabolically, we go lower and lower and lower, get depleted. Our our cells go into zombie states. And so these peptides come in and they could, or they may, as we all know we have to say, really wake everything up and have it to really work like it used to work. So you feel like you're 20 or 30 because everything is firing like it used to be. Does that make sense? Was that a good way to describe it?
I love how you describe it. That's what I wanted to do. I read on one of your.
It's simple.
I read on one of your Instagram posts recently about my. Oh, that's put so simplistically. I do like that you the loop way talks about the 4 foundations you talk about.
The pillars.
From all the research I've read, everything I've seen on it, if those aren't in place, peptides really aren't going to do much for you. If those are in place, peptides may be incredible for you. And the thing that I hate with our medical community, like on some of these ones that are approved, like the GLP-1s, there are no doctors teaching the lifestyle factor of it to actually get the best use out of it.
No.
And so that's why that's the thing I'm most excited about Loop Way is you have access to these educators, these PAs that'll explain it all to you, but help you understand, okay, these things have to be in place.
Right. You're wasting your money.
100%. Yeah.
When you're looking, and that's why you talk about Ozempic face, Ozempic ass. I mean, I'm not going to say it was, but I had a friend's dad who was sitting next to us over the holidays and everyone's like, you look so great. And he's like, oh yes, I'm on this thing called Ozempic and the shot and I can eat all the sugar that I want and I don't gain weight and I don't have to exercise. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I do feel like there needs to be a shift. And I feel like the Loop Way also, part of my business is helping titrate people down. And there's other peptides that can help support them as they titrate down because they're terrified, right? They all of a sudden are like, oh my gosh, I've lost all this weight, but you have no muscle, your bone density's low, and they're afraid to get off of it. And now they're a slave to going up and up. And now they're at these max doses and their receptors don't work anymore or they're not going to work. And so I've got a few clients right now that I'm helping titrate down and I'm holding their hand and I'm like, it's not scary. And eating this protein is not scary. I promise you can do this. And they'll be really vulnerable and honest and say like, I'm so afraid if I eat this protein, I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get fat. And I feel so sad because that's the culture that we've been raised in. And these are miracle drugs. And I do believe that we should talk about them. And I think the microdosing of a GLP-1 is the future for almost everybody.
They've been doing that for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
It's the most powerful tool we have. I honestly believe like everybody should be doing that.
Yes.
When you start looking at all the other benefits it does. But the thing that I'm most fearful of with how people have been told to take it is the issue with frailty that's coming. And frailty, when you look at like mortality rates, frailty is much more dangerous than being overweight. So
and you fall and you break something and then what?
You're done. Like, so what's happening is people are losing all this weight, but it's mostly muscle. The bone density is getting weaker, like you talk about. And then all of a sudden, their risk of death is much higher because of frailty. But no one's talking about it.
And that's why I think with my coaching too, is I'm pretty hard on, I'm like, I will hold your hand and we'll get through this. You got to do what I say.
Yeah.
And it's really, really important. You got to believe me and trust that it's going to be okay and we're going to get you down. And I don't know if I'm mad at the doctors or they just didn't know any better because there wasn't a lot of information around it.
Yeah.
And it was, it's hard to be a doctor. It's a big money grab. I mean, I'm not going to even say, I think it's like $34 billion were the whole GLP market last year. It's crazy. And just what they're charging for it. And I think it's going to change over time.
Yeah.
But I do go back to this microdosing and just really keeping your insulin in check. And I think what's hard for us, and I fear for our children, is that like we're growing up in a very different food system than our parents, than we did, our parents, our grandparents. And it's hard to navigate what's in our food and what we are consuming. And I do feel like on a microdose, it keeps the inflammation down. It keeps your insulin in check. It helps you producing more GLP-1. And so you are functioning just at a higher rate. And just with inflammation, you're moving better. You're feeling better. Your gut feels better. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not a dirty secret. And that's what I want to just like debunk. And the amount of people that like whisper to me, can you help get me off of it or get me down? And I was like, all these people like this, let's support each other. Like, the amount, it's just raise your hand if you're on one. Everyone should just raise their hand instead of pretending they're not and making someone feel shame about it. It's a tool. It's not cheating. It's just a tool. We just need to get the dose down to a dose that actually supports your system and doesn't really burn you out.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to hear about in the future. I think 2025, 2026. I think the stigma I'm hoping is going to go away and that we can talk about what it means to microdose or go on a small, low dose if you don't like the word microdose for whatever reason. But yeah, I think it's a very powerful tool.
On how to implement these other peptides along with it.
Exactly. And there are peptides too that can support you as you're coming down, that can help you burn fat in areas that you didn't think could reduce fat. I mean, it's wild. And I get so excited talking about it because I didn't know any of this existed, and it actually works. So tesamorelin was founded in like 1991 for AIDS patients. And the AIDS patients were on these drugs that made them put a lot of hard brown fat around the midsection. And it was getting not only uncomfortable, really unhealthy. And so all of a sudden the FDA approved tesamorelin to inject, and it literally burns and targets fat in the stomach area. And you think, how can that be? It works.
Yeah.
And it helps you put on muscle. And so the more you learn about these peptides and how they go in and get your body to function and really, like I said, help you optimize the areas that it needs to, it's just fascinating. And it's a fun conversation. And it's, like I said, I sometimes warn people, like, be careful of the rabbit hole you're about to go down. Because especially if you get on TikTok or Instagram and then it starts feeding you all this stuff, it's fascinating.
Yeah, it's funny. JP, you guys told me about his tesamorelin.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I want to try that. So I did 8 weeks of tesamorelin and AOD 9605.
Yep. And that targets, fat in like stubborn areas.
Oh my Lord. I showed you the picture. Like in 8 weeks, it's crazy dramatic. I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And granted, I wasn't training very hard the first one. I've been training a lot harder since. So a lot of things played into it, but I was really impressed with just the fat around my belly.
Right.
It was.
I also tell my clients, look at it as motivation, right? So if you're paying for a peptide, right, you're paying for a coach, get motivated. Because all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling better. I have more energy. I'm going to get off the couch. Okay, I'm going to move. Oh my gosh, like I've got a client right now in the Midwest, and she's on BPC 157 and a microdose of a GLP-1. I think she's on tirzepatide. And she lost 8 pounds of water weight in the first 2 weeks. I mean, she went and did her scale water weight, and it was just all the inflammation. She's like, I'm still eating great, but I'm not craving things. I'm craving whole foods. I'm craving protein. The food noise is gone. And she's like, she had tears in her eyes, and she's like, I never thought I could feel like this. And she's singing it from the rafters. And just like, how can you not want to talk about it when people are saying, like, the food noise is gone, the inflammation's gone, and I feel so good. And it just affects every area of your life.
Yeah.
So anyway, I can get very, very excited and passionate about it.
No, I love it. I love it. And I hope people hear this and want to explore it more. Oh, can you tell them where they can find the loop and how
So you can go on my Instagram, which is Stephanie Gambetta, and you can go on theloopway.com. And right now we're in beta, so you can go into our landing page, and it kind of tells you a lot about me. Eventually it'll be a website we're actually creating that's not going to be me. It'll be a little more unisex. It's for men too. So, but there's a whole resource page that you can kind of understand it more. But right now, I just want to come on and get curious. And there's so much to learn about. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about NAD. It's not a peptide. Yeah. It's a coenzyme, but it's kind of, everyone loops it into the peptide world, but it's much more of a buzz, literally, because you get a buzz from it. It is amazing. Yeah. And our NAD is fermented. And so it's not synthetic. And when you ferment it, not only is it great for your gut, like a fermented food, but it has a longer half-life in your body. And so you absorb better, it stays in your body. So as you elevate your levels, as you take it on a regular basis, it gives you more of a chance to build up easier. So you're not doing these big IVs. You can do it with just your little syringe, and it feels fine. And sub-Q
does not
works.
Hurt, by the way.
The sub-Q does not hurt.
Yeah,
at all.
this tiny little needle, you don't feel it. That's one of the things I see with people that have gone over there talking about it. What about, I'm scared of the needle? You do not feel anything.
And what's nice about NAD is that you don't need to do your blood work. Some people are like, I don't need, we for all our other peptides, we're all the peptides, to go through the loop way, you have to have a certain blood panel. And it's just really important from the integrity, from just making sure there's no contraindications. And then you can also really see, like, this could really help with your thyroid. Your thyroid's struggling, or you are having some insulin, it's not working as well. And so people like the NAD if they don't want to do their blood work. And for me personally, I can really feel the NAD, and I take it 5 days a week, and it's literally one of my favorites. And so it is nice for people who just want to kind of dip their toe into it. And there's a lot of information about NAD, and because it's a buzzword, it's not as, quote, scary if they think it's scary, but it's a good way to kind of get in.
Yeah, I like that. One other thing I want to talk about are the growth hormone.
Yeah.
This one freaks people out because they think they're taking growth hormone.
I know.
Like, it is the farthest thing from that. But we talked just a little bit about that because that's one people ask me a lot about.
Right. And so with the growth hormones for us, you definitely have to take your blood work just to make sure, especially the men and their prostate, that everything is looking good. All it's doing is telling your body to produce its own growth hormone.
Yeah.
It's amazing. CJ Sieva Moreland for sleep, us premenopausal, menopausal women who struggle with sleep.
Yeah.
You take it right before bed, so like 90 minutes after you eat, so you're somewhat fasted, and you will sleep like a baby. And like when you are going through that challenging time in your life as a female, it's really hard to sleep. And that's one of your pillars. That's where you recover. So it's really great for recovery. It's also really great for brain fog and helping you put on muscle, but it just stimulates your own natural growth hormone.
You know, one of my teammates started taking it.
Yeah.
And she was sleeping like 2-3 hours a night at most. The first night she took it, she slept 8 hours. And
Crazy.
Ever since she started it, she sleeps 7-9 hours every night. It's been a game changer for her life.
But what's important to know about these peptides is you do cycle off them. So you're not going to stay on this growth hormone forever. You're going to stay on it for 2 months, max 3 months. And then some people notice if they're staying on it too long, they'll put on a little water weight. They won't feel as good. It's because your body's saying like enough. And so you want to take a break, let your receptors take a break. And then when you're ready to cycle back on a couple months later, you can try it again. And that's what's kind of fun is that as you cycle off one, you're like, okay, I'm off this one. Let me try this one. Like GHK, it's the copper peptide. Everyone knows about it as the skin, the glow.
Beauty.
Oh, the beauty. But it's great for everything. It's really great for healing, for wound healing. You will see that your skin, your hair, everything just kind of really enhances. They're working on some creams. So you'll end up seeing it also in the non-injectable form that will be on your face. And it stings. I call it the spicy one. Like you got to make sure you know where you're putting it, but it's a really great, powerful peptide that I enjoy.
Well, I know my business partner, Jay, he partially tore his bicep.
Yeah.
He was supposed to have surgery, but like the process took so long. He just immediately started using BPC 157, TB 500, the copper.
Yeah.
And it's all reattached itself.
Yep.
Like he's back to ended up not having to have the surgery.
And I love the peptides that have instant gratification in the sense that like BPC is a great one, especially when you have an injury and you mix it with TB 500, is that all of a sudden someone will say, oh my gosh, like I don't have my tennis elbow or I don't have the arthritis. Or I have a friend who's a photographer and she's like, after every shoot, my lower back would hurt. And she's like, it doesn't hurt. And you recover. So, I mean, as you age, like I would go to the gym with you especially and like squat and the next day you're like, you get out of bed and you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, I'm never sore. Yeah. And from someone who literally was building up from zero muscle, I should have been sore every single day. And so it allows you to get back in the gym faster too. And I think that's really helpful when you are trying to build up. But because a lot of them, you will actually start to feel it and notice it. It's not like, oh, is this working? I don't know. Is this not working? So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I will tell you this, a lot of women are afraid to lift heavy because they think it's going to make them big. And we just hit the point the other day where you did 135 pounds. That's a big 45-pound plate on each side of the bar for reps on your squats. Yeah. So strength does not equal big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I eat a lot.
Yeah.
And so it does, it doesn't. And like I said, it's scary, but and I feel like that's why I say I feel sometimes that my injury was lucky because I had no choice but to change. And so I have a lot of empathy when I'm working with some of my clients of saying like, I want you to stop running. But I'm addicted to it. I'm like, I know. And it's so scary. I mean, it is change is hard. Any change is hard. But I was saying like, pick your hard.
Yeah.
What you're doing is not working.
One of my male clients, he was a big runner. Finally, he hit a plateau. And I just said, you just got to stop running, dude. As soon as he did that, he lost 15 pounds in like a month and a half.
Yeah. It's just the inflammation.
Yeah, it all went away. All the water retention, inflammation. The stress levels were lower on his body. Yeah, I like cardiovascular training for heart health stuff.
Yes, I'm doing it once a week now.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah,
and I do like it when I do my cardio. Well, I'll be honest.
When you got the weight vest too, right?
When I say do it once a week, I just started to be like, I think I'll do cardio. Well, I was reading somewhere that as we get older too, if you're not sweating, then your blood gets thicker. And so it's good to have one day where you're actually just really getting your blood flow going. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'll do that. But
people take it as like, I hate cardiovascular. No, I love it. And it has its place, but it's not the tool you use to change how the body looks.
Right.
It's the tool you use for health and cardiovascular health. You use weights and recovery for changing how the body looks.
And I actually did a post today about it because I think, like I'll have my cousin actually said to me the other day, she's like, well, I'm not like you. I can't work out all the time. And I was like, okay, I go lift weights 3 to 4 days a week, 45 minutes. And I go in with my makeup on and make ready for my day. Because I leave and like I can easily just quickly rinse off my body and put on other clothes, or I'm not sweaty.
Yeah.
And I feel sometimes these like heavy hit classes or spin, it's a commitment because you got to drive there and take the class, and then you're all sweaty, and then it's just like 2 hours later, you're like, what? And so really I was like, it's not that much. And then I walk my dog with a weighted vest. Yeah. So I think sometimes somebody will look at me and say, oh my gosh, I could never be in the gym. Like I'm not, but it's what I'm doing outside of the gym that's different. You know, it's eating my protein. It's the peptides as a tool that really makes my metabolism just be on fire. So I don't have to do that much.
Yeah. Well, I like how much it optimizes your recovery between workouts, the peptides that you use.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get so much benefit from every training session.
Yeah. And I light up when I talk about them because I really feel like it shouldn't be a secret. And like, I just want get curious about them. Like ask questions, read, go down rabbit holes, like utilize my company. Like my PAs know a lot. And then once you have the knowledge, then you can decide what you want to do for your body. But I think where I also get really frustrated is that like everyone thinks that supplements are they're popping like 80 supplements, right? They have no idea. The supplement industry is so underregulated. What lead is in there, what chemicals, mold, and they're just popping them because some influencers like, this will help your gut. And they're expensive. And so how do you really look at a peptide and say, it's just simply a supplement? And like when you find the right place to get your peptides, you can see they're third-party tested. They're 99% pure. The FDA peptides only have to be 98% pure. Ours are 99+% pure, third-party tested, and just with integrity. And so I think that's what's really important is like when you trust somebody and that they have integrity, you're saying, okay, I believe what they're saying and they're passionate about it. And that's why I think having the coaching piece of it is just really important because at the end of the day, you can advocate for yourself. It's your body.
100%. Love it.
So that's kind of how I got to where I am.
I love it. Well, thank you for being on.
Thanks, Ron.
It was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was fun.
Crazy fast. The good ones always do.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And again, if you're interested in the Loop Way, it's theloopway.com, or you can find Stephanie Gambetta on Instagram. She's a great influence in regards to what she's preaching and talking about is so dialed in and from such great personal experience. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.